I'm already recording.
Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Fabian Elizondo, and today I am proud to introduce our 2016 Chevy Corvette Stingray Z51. Now before I introduce the Corvette, let me give you a brief history on Corvettes. Corvettes have actually been around for a little over 60 years now. The very first Corvette was actually assembled out in Bowling Green, Kentucky. The idea was of a concept of one of GM's only, Harley Earl. The first Corvette, the C1, was actually introduced to be the first American sports car. This vehicle was actually introduced to the world back in 1953. The very first Corvette, the C1, actually lasted up until 1962. Then in 1963 was when the world was introduced to the Stingray. But back when the world was introduced to the Stingray, the words were actually separate. They weren't combined as you now see it. This model lasted up until 1967. Then in 1968 is when they combined the word Stingray together, like the way you see it now. This model was produced all the way up until 1982. That's when they did away with the Stingray. Usually if you have something good, it doesn't last forever. They get taken away. The very next Stingray was introduced. That was going to be up until 1996 for that model. Then the following model went up until 2004. And in 2005 is when the 6th generation of Corvettes came out. When this generation was released, you actually had the open headlamps. It wasn't the shutters, as you once saw, had been a little over 4 decades since the last time they had seen open headlights on this one. But when we brought this 7th generation, we wanted to bring something nice, something extra, something special. We didn't want to just release any Corvette. We wanted to make this one the Corvette and bring the Stingray back with style. So in 2014 is when we brought back the C7 Corvette Stingray. Now this model that you see right here before you is your 2016 Z51 2LT package. You actually have several different trim levels when it comes to the Corvettes. First you have your 1LT, 2LT, and your 3LT. Then you have your Z51 1LT, Z51 2LT, and the Z51 3LT. The model that you currently see in front of you right now is going to be your 2LT package. Now this package, it's going to be the 6.2 liter. It does have 460 horsepower with 465 foot-pounds of torque. This vehicle goes from 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds with an automatic, and 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds on a manual. Why is that, you ask? Reason we did that is because it was carefully engineered to shift at the perfect time, perfect moment, in order to make this faster than the manual, because they do figure that a machine is actually more accurate than the human being. And that's the reason why we designed this vehicle this way. There's 2 different types of transmission you can get on this vehicle. You have your manual, that's a 7-speed manual transmission. It has the active rev mashing, making it a lot easier for you to shift gears as well. Then you have your 8-speed automatic transmission on this one with the automatic paddle shifters. This model is actually the first one with the 8-speed transmission. The previous model actually only had a 6-speed transmission on that vehicle. So keep that in mind. We made a lot of changes. A lot of thought was put in and process was put into this. Compared to competitors such as the Porsche 911. Porsche 911 is a 3.4 liter. It has 350 horsepower. That vehicle has 287 foot-pounds of torque. Goes from 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. Then you have your Porsche Cayman S. The Porsche Cayman S has a 325 horsepower with 283 foot-pounds of torque. That one goes from 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds. Now when it comes to gas mileage, this Corvette can't even be messed with either. Even though we have double the size of the engine that Porsche has, this vehicle actually gets you 17 miles in the city and it gets you 29 miles in the highway. Compared to the competitors such as the Porsche 911, Porsche 911 gets you 19 miles in the city, 26 in the highway, and the Porsche Cayman, which gets you 20 miles in the city, 28 miles in the highway. So not only do we beat this engine, do we beat the Porsche by performance, by engine size, by gas mileage, but this vehicle all around is a beast. It's the all-American sports car, and it's an American-made vehicle. That's why we want to make this vehicle one of the toughest, strongest, most competitive vehicles out there. Now this vehicle, what makes it so special? What makes this engine so much better than these other vehicles? Well, I'll tell you why. This vehicle is direct injected, variable valve timing, and active fuel management. So what that means is while you're driving this beast, it actually downshifts into a 4-cylinder. So that's going to help you save so much on gas, and that's why we stand out outside of our competitors. Now when it comes to warranties, we also beat competitors when it comes to warranties. This vehicle gives you 5 years, 60,000 mile powertrain warranty, gives you 3 years, 36,000 mile bumper to bumper, gives you 5 years, 60,000 miles roadside assistance. But what we're gonna throw in extra, we're gonna throw in 2 years or 24,000 miles of the maintenance programs. That means you get free oil changes. And on this vehicle, being a Dexos approved oil, those 2 years, they're gonna come in handy. Compared to Porsche, their warranties, they actually give you 4 years, 50,000 mile powertrain, 4 years, 50,000 miles roadside assistance, 4 years, 50,000 miles bumper to bumper. But what they don't offer you is those 2 years of maintenance. Now, as I go into the vehicle, as you can see here, the way this vehicle was sculpted, everything was in a thought process. They spent years inside of a wind tunnel. They wanted to make this the most aerodynamic, the most fastest vehicle that we have ever come out when it comes to the Corvettes. Now in this vehicle, you've got the ventilation system that we have set up. It was actually a special process that was thought up. We actually moved the radiator up just enough to where air comes in down from the bottom. It picks up all the heat being released from the radiator, brings it over the hood and up over the top. Now what this is also going to do is it's going to help sink the vehicle a little bit lower. So when you hit higher speeds, that's what gives you the more aerodynamic. Keeping the vehicle lower, less wind resistant, that's what gives you more power on that vehicle. Here as well, you do have your front cameras. They help if you're driving up, make sure you don't curb check, anything like that. You also have some extra vents here on the side. What those vents are meant to do is actually cool down the brakes and the rotors on this vehicle. That's one of the special thoughts that were thought up when creating this vehicle. Now you have your wraparound headlights as well. This vehicle does come with the polycarbon headlamps as well. But the lights that we use, they're the bizennial HID headlamps. So you get to use a high beam and a single beam all in one beam all at once. And just to complement that, we threw in the LED turn signals, and it's also with a black chrome lip all around it. And for those that pay very close attention, you actually have a little Corvette emblem here in the side as well. Just for style, just to show you that we care. Now here on the side, we do have 19-inch rims in the front, 20-inch rims in the back, but these aren't your just special tires. These are your Michelin premium run flat tires. What does that mean to you guys? That means if you get a flat tire, this vehicle can actually go 60 miles of speeds of up to 50 miles an hour on these tires right here. So they are very special tires. They're meant for racing, they're meant for performance. So all of that was a big thought process. Now you have your black aluminum painted 10-spoke rims on this one. Now this one, since it is the Z51 package, you do get your Z51 performance suspension. Not only that, but the rotors, we use the slotted brake rotors. We do have the Brembo brakes as well for better braking, for performance brakes. But the rotors that we use, if you look at our rotors compared to the rotors over on the SS right there, those little slots inside the rotors is meant for braking faster and at the same time to cool down those rotors a lot faster, because this is a racing vehicle. Now since we do want to cool them down, as the air comes in, cools down your tires, rotors, it actually comes up through these vents here on the side. So those vents aren't just for show. They're actually meant through the air to process through. Now you do have your Stingray logos here on the side. Now as I go into the interior of the vehicle, for those of you that are familiar with Corvettes, you'll see that we completely changed out the entire interior of the Corvettes. The reason we did that is because people started wondering, you know, I'm paying so much money for a Corvette, but yet the interior is always the same. It's such a dull, plain, bland. And this time, for this C7 generation, we actually changed out the entire interior. You do have the Napa leather with the special stone stitching on this vehicle. It's an 8-way power seat as well. You can move the seats forward, back. You can recline them in and out, and you can also support the lower lumbar, and you can also support the side thorax on this vehicle as well. You do have the carbon fiber interior as well. You have your Bose speakers as well, so it does have a premium auto sound as well. And to make it a little more convenient, you can actually adjust the temperature, heating, cooling here on the seats for your passenger as well. That's one of the good things. And then you also have your handles in case you're going really fast. You know, your passenger gets a little scared. They just grab onto anything. We put those handles there just for you. Now here, you see these vents here at the top. These vents are actually meant to bring in air. And what it's going to do is it's going to cool down your differential and your transmission. So it has the cooling powertrain as well system on this one. But that's not just any differential that we use. It's actually the electric limited slip differential. So what the electric limited slip differential is gonna do for you guys, let's say for example, you're driving, one of your tires slips on a puddle and the tire starts to spin out. What this vehicle is gonna do is it's gonna send a signal, move the torque over to the other tire and pull this vehicle out to safety. That's one of the things that the electric limited slip differential is gonna do for you guys. Now this vehicle as well, since it is the Z51, you do get your Z51 spoiler on the back. If you compare it to the other Stingray, that's just the basic one, you can see that the spoiler only stops right here on the basic Stingray, but your Z51, it actually goes all the way across. That's what gives you that extra style on this Corvette. Now, one other thing that I want to mention, one of the safety features, let's say for example, your battery died, you can't get into your vehicle, what we went ahead and did for you is with your key fob, you can actually open this up and you actually have a key inside of this key fob. The reason we did that is because there's no door handles and there's no way to put that key in there. So if you come over here to the back, pops your hood right open. That's one of the things that we added for you guys, just in case those of you that have the Corvette, you don't know how to get into your vehicle because either your battery died or your key fob battery died and there's no way for you to get in. You have this key right here for safety in order to get back in. Now this vehicle, it is going to come equipped with a little more things than you actually think of. But we do have a compartment right here. It's not just for the extra space back here, but in here you actually have a battery jump starter. In case you need to jump start your battery, this Corvette does come with its own battery. As someone once asked me, Fabian, where does that battery sit? Where can I find that battery? Well, I'm about to teach you. The battery actually sits back here, over on the side. We put the battery in the back because we don't want it to heat up inside with the engine and all that. It's a little hard to get to, but your battery is actually located down here. You have your tools as well, in case you need to jump start that battery. But yeah, we put it back there just to stabilize the vehicle. Like I said, everything is a whole thought process. When it came to the Corvette Stingray, everything was carefully thought of when we put this vehicle together. We want to make it the most aerodynamic, the most equal weight distribution vehicle. Now here on the side as well, let's say you open the door, but you can't get inside the vehicle. You're like, well, I opened the back and I can't climb in. I got a bad back, I got a bad knee. You actually have a handle here that'll pop open. Your driver's door actually opens the door wide up. Now here in the back, you're also going to have a backup camera as well. It's another safety feature that got included into this vehicle. That way you can see any objects that are behind you as you're backing up, anything like that. Now here inside of the vehicle, this vehicle, there is a lot of technology that was put inside of this vehicle. This vehicle you have your 8-inch MyLink application screen, and you have your 8-inch display screen on this one. With the MyLink application, it's actually good for 5 years. On your remote link application, you can unlock your doors, you can start up your vehicle on this vehicle as well. You can run diagnostics on your vehicle. Some of the settings you can actually set up on this vehicle. You can actually adjust your exhaust. If you get into the settings and mess with your settings, you can actually switch it from self to track to sport. Whatever mode you want to switch it for, you can actually adjust the exhaust. Now that exhaust, since it's a performance exhaust tip, the reason this vehicle has 5 horsepower more than your regular Stingray is because of the exhaust tip that we added. It's a performance exhaust for more airflow. That's what gives you an extra 5 horsepower on this vehicle. This vehicle right here, if you sit down, you can actually customize everything on the vehicle. You can even change the driver settings. You have your eco, if you want more economical gas saving track mode. If you want more for racing, it stiffens up the magnetic ride suspension, but I'll talk about that in just a minute. You have your weather. This vehicle is actually equipped now for weather, snow, rain, stuff like that. Then you have a tour with your regular driving, stuff like that. But the magnetic suspension that we put in this vehicle, it's actually a 3rd generation. It's actually 40% more stiffer than your original magnetic ride suspension on this one, but it also has the track performance data record. But ladies and gentlemen, if you remember, I had asked you a while back, how can I be a different animal and the same beast? Well, this is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is your 2016 Corvette Stingray. My name's Fabian Elizondo.